welcome along to another episode of TUI Transfer Talk. The summer saga is finally over. Nick and I are here to kind of dissect the transfer activity of Southampton so far this summer. Obviously talking about Virgil van Dijk and what's next for him. But first of all, let's start with the incomings. Everything's been concluded. Incomings, Jan Bednarek, 5 million. Mario Lemina, 18 million. Wesley Hoot, 16 million. Good signings, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's always a cry to spend money in a transfer window, but sometimes, you know, you can spend money just for the sake of it, and Saints have spent their money carefully. Yeah, there's a case that we could have got another striker in, but I think that we've now got a good solid all-round squad, as long as Van Dijk comes back and plays. But Lemina, good signing, strong, gives us options in the centre to steady the ship. Who will hopefully be what we need at the back as a replacement for Jose Fonte, and Bednarek's one for the future. So, you know, many supporters will be whinging a little bit that we haven't signed a striker or we haven't spent much, but, you know, it's about improving the squad, not about spending money.
And those are the key areas that we needed to improve. I mean, as you say, Wesley, who is finally a replacement for Jose Font, and they said last January even, we won't allow Font to leave unless there's a replacement lined up. It's taken them 8 months or so to replace Wesley Hoot, and he played in the international squad last night with Holland. They got hammered 4-0 against France, but another good young talent to fit in the philosophy of Southampton Football Club. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I watched the second half of the game against Holland, France, and I wouldn't have particularly said Wesley Hoot was to blame for it. Holland are a poor team, as has been proved, you know, over the course of the World Cup, and, you know, they're likely now to go out of the World Cup if they don't beat Bulgaria in a few days' time. I mean, ironically, we should want the Dutch to beat the Bulgaria, because that'll put them back with a chance of getting to Russia. And one of the things that can inspire Virgil van Dijk to come back into the side and, you know, put in a shift, as we say, is that if Holland's World Cup hopes are still in place after next week, or this time next week, you know, if, you know, the Dutch can beat Bulgaria, then they'll go into the final round of group games with a chance, and that hopefully could work in our favour.
And Mario Lemina, another shrewd signing for Saints, broken our record again this summer, nowhere near as astronomical as the fees that we've seen in the transfer window. I think I've seen a stat, we've broken almost 200 million. Well, I think the transfer loans almost hit 2 billion. But Mario Lemina, big strong midfielder, box to box, high energy. Another great signing for us.
Yeah, I mean, what it's enabled us to do is we can get back to what we've done so well prior to last season, and that is have a solid goalkeeper, a solid back four, and a solid central pairing in midfield, which we didn't have last year. And I mean, the fact that we didn't have it, I mean, we had the problems at the back four, or in the centre of the back four, with Fonte disinterested, and then in the second half of the season, Virgil van Dijk out, which led to Forster, you know, losing a little bit of confidence and a little bit of stability, and which led to the fact that in the second half of the season we just had to sit back and protect the back four and goalkeeper, which meant we didn't let many in at the end, but we didn't score any. Now we can get back to doing what we do well, because we've got two central midfield players who can battle and hold the midfield. We've got two central defenders, assuming Van Dijk puts his effort in, who is, you know, a good pairing. We've got a couple of good fullbacks that can bomb forward. We can get back to what we did well 2-3 years ago. Now, if we do that, I think we've got the firepower up front, because we've got Shane Long, we've got Charlie Austin, and we've got Manolo Gabbiadini, all players that are capable of getting in the double figures and at this level of football. But the key is, as well, is players like Sofiane Boufal, who, you know, can then, with that backbone behind him, start to show why we paid a lot of money for him.
Yeah, he hasn't really lit up expectations so far. But as you've been saying in your articles, you know, this is the season that Sofiane Boufal should be given the chance to shine, and we have a plethora of midfield talent now, and we've obviously seen Jordi Classy go out on loan because there's no room for him. In midfield, we've got Lemina, Davis, Romeu, Ward-Prowse, and Højbjerg, and up in the attacking midfield again, you've got Ward-Prowse in that bracket, Tadic, Boufal, Redmond, Long even in that bracket too.
Josh Sims, you can add to that. Yeah, we've got the squad there. I mean, it's easy. In today's social media world, people put something on social media, take it as gospel, and then all of a sudden thousands of people going yeah. And Buffal is a good player. Buffal showed on occasions last year what he can do. There weren't 2 better goals scored last season than the one he got against Sunderland in the League Cup and the one he got against Middlesbrough in the league. He can do it, but he's he's not a battler. He's not a box-to-box player. He's a flair player. He's a luxury player. When you haven't got the solid foundation defensively, you can't utilise him. When you have, you can do it. People remember Letizia as being a great player, and he was. But there were plenty of games when Letizia, we were under the cosh and letting goals in, and it didn't matter what Letizia did. But when you needed him to, he did, and I'm hoping that Buffal will show that for us.
Okay, on to the outgoings then. We've seen half a dozen players go out on loan. Briefly mentioned there, Jordi Class has gone on loan, and he went on the penultimate day of the transfer window off to Club Brugge. And as we say, there's not really any room for him, and then essentially he's seen himself as 6th choice midfielder.
I mean, I'm sad. I mean, Jordi Classy is not a bad player. He's been a good player for Saints over the 2 years, but what he has been is an unlucky player. I mean, he's unlucky in his debut for the club against Vitesse Arnhem. He, pulled his thigh muscle, I think it was, and was out for 3 months, which meant he missed all the grounding of the pre-season that was needed to get at the Premier League fitness level, which meant that he was always playing catch-up throughout the season. But he played a full part in getting us to 6th place in the league this year. Last year, he wasn't a bad player. But again, he was unlucky. He fell out of favour with Claude Puel. The 2 games that he played in the final half of the season, he played well. Great goal at West Brom, good man of match performance at West Brom, got dropped. Coming at Middlesbrough, created a goal at West Brom, good performance, got dropped. He was just unlucky. Hopefully, I'm not sure, we might not see him the last of Classy yet. I mean, he could have a good season at Club Brugge, come back and re-establish himself.
And there are some suggestions actually that when I put the video out the other day, that Jordi Classy, he'll come back next season. Stephen Davis will then be pushing 33, 34 perhaps. Maybe Classy's a long-term replacement for Davis.
Possibly, because what you've also got to look at is the fact Romu and Lemina, or Lemina, however we want to pronounce it, are quality players. And if they put in the season that we want for them, they're going to be in demand. So, the chances are that one of them may be moving on in the next year. I don't know, but if it is, Classy coming back in, as you say, Stephen Davis now well into his 30s, Classy's career at St Mary's might not be over.
Okay, another outgoings then. We've seen a long-term player, a well-liked around the football club, Jay Rodriguez. We sold him for 12 million up to West Brom. Decent move for the fella. Again, another player that's been unlucky with the amount of competition in the squad.
Yeah, I mean, again, Jay Rodriguez is a quality player. He's an unlucky player for what happened to him a few years ago. I mean, I think this is probably the best move for everyone all round. I like Jay Rodriguez. He put in some good performances last season, and he was one, like Shane Long, like Jordi Classy, who fell foul of Claude Puel's rotational system. It just seemed every time Long or Rodriguez got a goal, they got dropped. He scored some vital goals last season. He scored some good goals last season. But I think all in all, he needed a fresh start, and it suited everyone. Jay Rodriguez gets a fresh start at West Brom. We get 12 million quid. I mean, yeah, it's a sad ending to his career. I rather hope that he'd be a lot better than that. But you can't fault him for his effort, and he should go, and has gone, with the best wishes in a fan. When he returns to St Mary's, there won't be anyone booing him. Yeah,
and he's had that when he returns to Burnley. There's been no animosity at all since leaving the football club up there either. And he's already got on the score sheet, so it's great to see J Rod already finding his shooting boots. But other players that's gone under the radar that's left us this summer, Lloyd Isgrove, Jason McCarthy, both left us, but none of those will be anywhere near the first team. Lloyd Isgrove's been a long-term servant to the football club. But another player for me, I'm very disappointed to see him leave, because we are actually missing that type of player up front, and Sam Gallagher's gone to Birmingham on loan.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Sam Gallagher, again, is 4th choice forward. Is he better than Charlie Austin? No. Is he better than Manolo Gabbiadini? No. Is he better than Shane Long? No. I mean, he needs another season in the Championship. He had a decent season for Blackburn, but when you look at it, most of his goals were scored in the first half of that season, and he didn't score a lot. I think he got about 2 goals in the final 20 games, which you know, we didn't really watch him, so on the face of it, I don't know what he got, 10 goals in 35 games.
It's 12 goals.
12 goals. Yeah. It doesn't seem a bad return.
For a relegated side too.
For a relegated side too. But as they were getting relegated late in the season, Sam Gallagher didn't get the goals for him, which was part of it. So, you know, he needs another year somewhere, needs a little bit of more experience, and then comes back. And we'll see what he's made of then. But at the moment, you know, he's fourth choice at best. And if we had signed a forward, if we had got Vieto or whatever, he'd have been fifth choice. So, you know, he needs a bit of grounding, because he wouldn't, to be honest, he wouldn't have got much game time.
And a player that almost seemed like he was going to leave yesterday on transfer deadline day, Matt Targett. Earlier on Thursday morning, there was reports that suggested that he was going to go to Newcastle United on loan for a season-long loan, and effectively finds himself third choice. But the loan deal actually fell through in the end. Yeah,
I mean, people say effectively third choice. But, you know, in my mind, Matt Targett's the second best full left back at the club. And I think he probably is second best left back in choice-wise. But the reason Sam McQueen's got the nod on the bench is Sam McQueen offers that two positions as such. Matt Targett's a good traditional left back. Play him as a left back, good player. And in pre-season, he created some goals and he showed what he had. But he's not a wing back as such. He's like Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw was never a wing back. He was a good solid left back, and nor was Matt Targett. So Sam McQueen is more, being a converted winger, is more of a wing back. And just when you're looking at the bench, it's sometimes you've got to look at what players that can offer you all round. So Sam McQueen offered cover at left back, but he also offered attacking opportunities to come on as a wide player.
And we obviously have high hopes for Matt Targett. He signed a 5-year extension in the summer alongside Stevens and Gallagher. But let's talk about the saga of the summer. Every single day since the end of the last season, there was a headline that read Virgil van Dijk this, Virgil van Dijk that. But in the end, Liverpool had to settle for Virgil van Dijk.
They certainly did. I wondered when that joke was coming in. Yeah, I mean, Liverpool have been architects of their own downfall on this. If Liverpool had done things the proper way, there is probably every chance that Virgil van Dijk would have been a Liverpool player as we speak now, and we'd be talking about his departure. But they didn't. And part of the reason they didn't was Van Dijk's agent. And, you know, part of that is due to the fact that it's the same agent that took Ronald Koeman to Everton, and there was a lot of bad blood. And Rob Jansen has not got a reputation as being a upstanding agent. Especially not at this football club. So it was always going to end in tears. What Liverpool didn't do, though, was bank on the fact they bunged all their eggs in one basket. They employed a strategy of unsettling the player. They used the player to unsettle him. If I was Virgil van Dijk, I would be thinking, what am I going to, really? Because, you know, he's been asked to basically withdraw his labour to force a move, and no footballer should be asked to do that. I'm not going to say that Van Dijk's blameless. He's a grown man and could easily have said, look, I'm a man of principles, I'm not doing it. But he didn't, and we've had the situation. Now we've got to look about what happens next. And I always say this, in whether I'm writing something or whether I'm speaking, it's never about what's just happened, it's always about what's happened next. And what we've got to do as a football club and as supporters of the football club is put this behind them and say it doesn't matter what's gone on over the last month, 3 months or whatever, it is what happens going forward. There's 3 options now. Virgil van Dijk returns to training on Monday, gets fit, assimilates himself back into the squad and team, and makes himself available for selection and puts in the effort, etc., needed and expected of him. The second option is he goes back to training but goes through the motions and basically fulfills the terms of his contract, but because, you know, doesn't really play because you can see that he's not really trying. And the third option is he carries on as he's been doing for the last 3-4 months.
And that third option wouldn't hold any value to us because we've got a £70 million player there that's essentially, as some people have been putting it on social media, rotting in the reserves.
Well, that's it. But we had to make a point. And the fact of the matter is, all of the supporters have whinged on through the summer about Les Reed and the club, and we're a selling club and we cave in at every opportunity. They conveniently forget we didn't cave in over Schneidlin or Morgan. We didn't cave in over Morgan 3 years ago. We didn't cave in over Wanyama 2 years ago. And when we've proved in a period of time that we'll sell when it's right for us. We've done that now. We've put ourselves in a position where we don't need to sell players, and we've stuck to it. So what we need to do as fans is get behind it. Now, if Virgil van Dijk wants to play silly buggers, as we say, let him get on with it. You know, worst case scenario is we sell him for 70 million. If he doesn't train and he doesn't play, and we'll fine him 2 weeks' wages every time. So it'll cost us nothing, and we'll sell him for what we sold before. We're in no real worse position. Best case scenario is he realises he gets back into the team and plays. Big factor of that could be if Holland beat Bulgaria next week and stay in the World Cup. But if he comes back in and plays, it's in his business, and he should look. If he googles Liverpool Football Club and striking players, he'll find Luis Suarez, who withdrew his labour. Liverpool refused to sell him to Arsenal. All sorts of underhand dealings. Suarez stayed, was Player of the Year both at Liverpool, Football Writers Player of the Year, Premier League top scorers. Liverpool almost won the league, and instead of going to Arsenal, Suarez went to Barcelona for a lot more money and win-win. That's what it's going to be. Hopefully Virgil will do that, and if we get 4 months out of him, then great.
Do you think there's a fear in January that we're going to obviously there's a fear that we could lose him in January?
Absolutely, but again, it's all about getting good at it. The old saying is it's better to have loved than lost, and that's the same with players. It was better that we had Toby Alderweireld for a year than not have Toby Alderweireld for a year, even though he's on loan. It is better for this football club that we have Virgil van Dijk playing well in our team for 4 months, and if it is only 4 months, then that puts us in a stronger position than if he's not in it, to be perfectly blunt, as they say. So what we've got to do as supporters, we've got to accept it. We've got to accept if he comes back in the team, there is no use it's counterproductive to boo him, barrack him and whatever. Just accept it. It's business. It's not personal, it's business.
Now, if you were Pellegrino, what would you say to him on Monday morning? Because the report suggests, as you say, that he might be coming back into the first team training.
Yeah, I mean, Pellegrino is a professional. He will say to him exactly what you would expect from a professional. He will say, you are a professional, to use the word professional many times, which isn't very professional. But he will say to him, you're a professional, now do your job. He'll tell him all the things that I've just said and more. And what we'll find out is if Virgil van Dijk is a man or is just a virtual man. And hopefully he will turn out to stand up, be a man, and be a professional.
Okay, well then, in summary then, our transfer window, how would you rate it? I guess out of 10, let's say an out of 10 rating, 0 being the worst, 10 being the best.
I would say it's a 7.5 to an 8. It's not a bad transfer window. We've held all the players that we wanted to hold. You know, Classy, Rodriguez, etc. were more, they're good players, but you can't have a string of good players more, to a certain degree. And, Højbjerg is as good as Classy, Long is as good as Rodriguez, etc. We've got the players that we need. We've held the big players that we wanted, though the question remains over Van Dijk, and we've made 2 very astute signings. And as I said right at the beginning, fans want to see signings, they want to see money spent, but there's no use spending money just for the sake of spending money. We're
never going to be that club to cave into peer pressure like the rest of the clubs have been. I mean, Bournemouth, they're paying 20-25 million for a player that was essentially a Chelsea reserve.
Well, yeah, at the start of the transfer window, Bournemouth done their business very, very quickly. And, I've seen social media saying, oh, we can't even compete with Bournemouth. But when you look at Bournemouth's 3 key signings, and I think they've only made 3 real signings this transfer window, although they have tried to make more, but couldn't. Although they made 3 key signings, you've got to say the goalkeeper, Chelsea reserve, good, better than average Premiership keeper, but not a truly, I'd rather have Forster than him. You've got to say Nathan Ake, good central defender. I'd have liked to have seen him here, but overpriced at 20 million. And Jermaine Defoe, free transfer, yeah, but 34, 35. You know, would I rather have Charlie Austin? Would I rather have Manolo Gabbiadini? Yeah. Would I rather have Shane Long? Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to summarise, and I'll say probably an 8 out of 10 about our transfer window. I think we're just missing that final piece of the jigsaw. People have been crying for a strike, and I think maybe that's the final piece that has been missing. But let us know in the comments below if you've enjoyed this sort of podcast. Let us know in the vote as well. What would you integrate Van Dijk back into the squad again? Click up in the iCard in the corner there. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share and subscribe for more.